The big fight that's happening later this year. What's interesting here, it's not your typical heavyweight fighting, not Anthony Joshua, the heavyweight champion. Here we have a retired boxer. We have Floyd Mayweather. And of all people he's fighting is a big YouTuber star in Logan's Paul, where they're going to fight for big money, which is kind of surprising if you look at it. Logan Paul having no background in boxing, then Floyd Mayweather, who has background in boxing but has been retired for several years already. But that's going to give them a big payday compared to what when Floyd Mayweather was fighting in his prime. And according to the Sun.co.uk, so it was mentioned that Mayweather mentioned that if he were to fight today, he could easily earn $35 million, which is a pretty hefty sum. But here's the interesting part. In this extravagant exhibition, it can earn him almost double the amount, 65 million or even more. And he projects to earn him or get him at least 100 million against Paul Logan here, which is, when I read this article, it was surprising. How can you earn so much if it's not a big heavyweight match in a sense? So, reading the article, digging through the article, I found it very interesting here. So, let's see here. Where is it? There you go. So, according to the article here, so it's going to be a 6 rounds exhibition. So, 6 rounds less than the typical, heavyweight, about 12 rounds. And what's interesting here, they're going to be paid more than what they were earning before. So, in this case, they mentioned that it's going to be entertaining in a sense. So, you can see Logan Paul holding the money here. Anyway, so it's what's mentioned here. It's a 6-round event, so people are going to enjoy it and hopefully find it entertaining. And as mentioned, so, if you're Floyd Mayweather, thinking if you're looking at a 12-round match for 35 million or a 6-round for 100 million, obviously, you do the math, it's a big difference. Now, what makes it so more lucrative than, a typical regular fight here? And I was surprised to find out that looking how much they earned. So I looked at Jake Paul's network when he fought UFC fighter Ben Askren. So let's see here. So you can see here in the previous fight for Jake Paul, brother of Logan Paul, you can see here it was reported 1.5 million people watched the fight, pay-per-view, right? So you can just imagine if it's $50, multiplied to 1.5 million, that's $75 million already. So obviously, if there are more people watching it, it could generate more revenue here. Now, obviously, those two are not necessarily big headliners in the boxing realm, but gives you an idea of how much money is involved here. And what's interesting here, in their fight, Paul only netted 700. That's just the base salary here. While on the other hand, Mr. Askren garnered $500,000 in terms of base salary. This is not taking into account incentives, win bonuses, percentages of pay-per-view. Obviously, if you're the fighter, you want a bigger share of the fight there. And they're leveraging their notoriety in a sense, popularity in the sense. And you can even imagine, so here we have another example of Floyd Mayweather's fight with Conor McGregor last time. So if we were to take a look, where was it? Yes. So in terms of the gates, where was it? I forgot where's the gates here. Yeah, so in terms of the gates, yeah, so if it were a live event, so obviously people can visit and watch the fight. It generated a pretty substantial amount, pretty lucrative. 13,000 tickets were sold for the amount of a little over 55 million, right? Meaning a lot of people went to see it, and that's on top of the pay-per-views that people watch to tune in. And here we have how many people tune in? Yeah, so there were 4 million domestic buys. So you do the math. So if it's $50, could be more per pay-per-view buy, so that's 200 million without breaking a sweat. So it's also always about the numbers, how many people are watching it. Now, obviously, McGregor has a big following. You have Mayweather has a big following. That's why it makes for a entertaining event, whether whoever wins here, right? And what's interesting is, what do you think will happen if it's Floyd Mayweather fighting against Logan Paul here? And if we look at the tail of the tape here, it's pretty interesting here, right? So if you're Floyd Mayweather, so you're getting up in age, you're in the early 40s, similar in my age. And obviously his background is boxing, so he has fought 50 fights and has never lost. So he brings in experience in his side. So here's the fighter here. On the other hand, you have Logan Paul, who's a very young stud, is inexperienced, no fighting experience whatsoever, has only 2 fights, 1 loss and 1 win. So what does he bring to the table now? Obviously, for many of you, Logan Paul is a YouTuber with a big following. So I think in the tens of millions of followers. So if any of those followers were to watch this event, so it can be made for a lucrative endeavor. And based on historical data, you can see how many people are going to watch the said event, and they expect, if you just think about it, if it's same number of amounts or even more, so at least 4 million buys, that could generate in the hundreds of millions of dollars, whether it's 100 to 200 or even more, depending of the turnouts here. That's just in the United States, but how about worldwide? So you could just imagine how lucrative the endeavor is. So does it matter who wins or loses? Now, obviously, Mayweather has bigger at stake because he's never been defeated. Will he be defeated here? Unlikely. Obviously, he's the more experienced fighter here and more faster, so he should be able to win. But it makes a case for how entertaining the event could be. So that's why people are glued and looking forward to watching the event here. Whether who will win in? Will there be a chance for Mr. Paul here to win, or will it be a bloodbath for Floyd Mayweather here in terms of an overkill here?